Hi, it's Scott Vogel on sex addiction. I'm going to answer the question, what are some inexpensive treatment suggestions for sex addiction? Many people usually hear about sex addiction in its notoriety on the internet, the radio, TV, through social media, and it's usually in the context of celebrities, politicians, and their latest scandalous exploits. All of the news about the celebrities going for sex rehab at treatment facilities might make treatment for sex addiction seem very costly or out of reach for the average individual who's struggling with a sex addiction. In reality, there are many inexpensive treatment options for sex addiction. You see, each sex addict is different because each person is different. So treatment for sex addiction is going to be very different. In other words, what works for some people may not necessarily work for others. In general, recovery from sex addiction requires a very strong support system as well as guidance from those who have been there. Strong support systems come from family, it comes from friends, it comes from clergy, and importantly, it comes from the 12-step programs and the 12-step groups and the members who are involved in those groups. Guidance can come in the form of a sponsor, a spiritual counselor, a therapist, or a combination of the three. The right combination of what you choose or what a sex addict will choose varies according to a person's financial status, their environment, and their other needs. Only the sex addict themselves will know which is the right path to recovery for them. Twelve-step programs are a very effective and inexpensive as well as accessible option for sex addiction treatment. SA is Sexaholics Anonymous, SAA is Sex Addicts Anonymous, and SLAA is Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. Each deals with a different aspect of sex addiction, and some research online will help you discover the differences. The steps used in each of these are based on the steps founded by Alcoholics Anonymous, and what they do is they provide a structured approach to recovery. Many sex addicts find the support of a sponsor, combined with the safe and supportive environment of the group, are critical factors in their recovery. 12-step programs also lay out a set of principles for healthy and right living that can be applied to any number of challenging circumstances in life. Once a sex addict commits to applying these principles, they move closer to conquering their addiction. Later in life, they'll be able to utilize these steps in situations that might have otherwise in the past compromised their recovery efforts. Counseling is another effective and fairly inexpensive option for treating sex addiction. There are many options for counselors out there, including ministers, priests, other types of spiritual leaders. It's important, though, to find somebody who has the qualifications, who's dealt with sex addiction. There are licensed mental health counselors, there are licensed clinical social workers, and there are certified sex addiction therapists who have gained experience and trained in the field of sex addiction. You see, the recovery process is a deeply personal experience, and for many people it requires that they come to a spiritual enlightenment or a spiritual awareness. Now, who better to help than a spiritual leader to facilitate this heightened spiritual awareness? Still, it's important to note counseling is not a substitute for treatment from a trained therapist. It should be looked at as one piece of the overall puzzle for recovery. What also should be understood is a large part of the recovery process is learning to recognize the difference between healthy sexual behaviors and unhealthy compulsive behaviors, and controlling the unhealthy ones and managing them. In more advanced cases of sex addiction, inpatient treatment is required for this part of the recovery process, but it is very expensive to seek out and get inpatient treatment. But for many people, having a strong support system in place allows them to pursue their recovery in their own home. Outpatient recovery requires a considerable amount of support from friends and family, and is a helpful way to treat one aspect of the sex addiction. When you can confide in someone and look for strength, it will help towards keeping the sex addict on the right path. Attending 12-step meetings and consulting qualified professionals will support the overall recovery process. So in review, having strong support systems in place keep recovery from sex addiction inexpensive. The proper guidance of somebody who has been there, a sponsor, a therapist. 12-step programs where you can work the steps with those who have already and are working the steps. Counseling from a qualified sex addiction therapist. Outpatient treatment. Please visit our YouTube channel on sex addiction, where you'll find more videos on sex addiction and recovery from sex addiction. Go to www.onsexaddiction.com for a free video explaining what sex addiction is, the 7 symptoms of sex addiction, the 4 traumas of sex addiction, the 4 faulty core beliefs set up by the traumas of sex addiction, and the solution, the 7 paths to success in recovery from sex addiction. You'll also find more information about sex addiction and sex addiction recovery.